Hello friends, welcome to Manifest IS. This is Karan George. Now on Tuesday, the Prime Minister announced a grand package of 20 lakh crore to boost the economy as a fallout of COVID-19. But the slowdown has been happening from the last 1 year. So one should be aware about the events leading up to the crisis and what are the steps which the government has taken for the entire year of last year. Because any of these reforms can be asked as part of your prelims. Now, I'll be doing the video in two parts. The first part will cover events before the lockdown, that is, the steps announced by the government to boost economic growth in October, and also the steps which are announced post just as the lockdown had started. And slowly we'll come to the second part, which is in the second part we'll be discussing about the steps which have the government announced and what are the steps which is going to announce, which will be coming to know in the few days.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Now coming to today's slide, which is for today's video, which is what are the steps which were taken by the government to boost demand, to boost economic growth in October. In October, the government of India announced its grand vision of achieving a $5 trillion economy. So the measures will purely be in line with achieving that goal. Now coming to the scenario in October, the finance minister had a long press conference where she met the industry, she met various stakeholders, she met the banks, she met industry, etc. to take a feedback and reform some practices in the fiscal system, monetary system, etc. For example, we all know about the merger of banks, which we discussed in the last slide, that there was a proposal to merge banks, which was carried out recently on 1st April or which was made effective from 1st April. So looking at the trends which were available to us in October of late last year, the GDP growth in the left column we can see that the yellow line is denoting India and the blue line denotes the world. And we can say that if you look at emerging markets or advanced economies, India maintained a significantly faster rate of growth compared to rest of the world. And also if you look at the right side, the top 10 major economies of the world. So the size of the bubble denotes the size of the GDP. So you can see clearly United States and China is having a bigger bubble than India. So that means what is it showing? That the size of circle represents GDP at purchasing power parity at current international dollars. So if we look at this chart, we can clearly see that the x-axis shows the rank as per 2018 PPP standard and the y-axis shows the annual average GDP growth rate. So we can clearly see that India is growing faster than China from the period 2014 to 18. So this could be a potential question that has India maintained a rate of growth which is faster than China in the previous 5 years or the previous few years? Yes. So because we can clearly see from this chart that India is growing faster than China from the period 2014 to 18. Now coming to the steps, what were the steps which were announced by the finance minister? So the first step relates to, or the first slide will largely relate to laws. So in this, the first is about taxation laws. So the theme here was ease of living, ease of life and income, and it was made to streamline the income tax, GST, customs, etc. So first step was to pre-fill the IT returns. So now we have a concept where there is a KYC or know your customer. You're supposed to give your PAN card in your insurance policy. You're supposed to give your PAN card towards your bank accounts, interest, FDs, etc. All are linked to a common KYC. And there is also a proposal to link the PAN card with Aadhaar card. So using these common KYC, which is PAN, Aadhaar, Jandan, Aadhaar Mobile or JAM as is properly called, the government can get data about what are your practices, what are your savings, what has been your expenditure been like in the last 1 year. So based on that or auto correlation of data, they'll get a pre-filled IT return. That means you'll have all the columns filled for yourself, that this much was the interest you got, this much is the savings you did. So that there is easier tax filing and there is easy to comply. And in case you have some difference, you can change the figure. So it is not that as if that it is foolproof. You can, from their side it is foolproof, but still if you want to put up a dispute, if you dispute that figure, you can change it while filing process. So that is one step where pre-filling of IT returns has been started from this year. Secondly, faceless scrutiny. Now, this was started from Dussehra 2019. Now, this is very important because previously the taxpayer had to visit the tax department or was in face to face contact with some tax filing officer or tax professional, etc. But now, what is the case? You are supposed to communicate only online and you will get a ticket identification number or document identification number. And that identification number is the sole basis for your appeals, scrutiny, grievances, etc. And there will be a timely redressal of that complaint as well. Next is the reduction in the GST return process now and simplification. So new form came out on 1st April, which is a much simpler form than before. Also, the refund process of GST was simplified, especially for exporters, MSMEs, etc. And lastly, risk-based approach in dealing with taxpayers. See, as we all know, in banks we have a system of SMA 1, SMA 0, SMA 2, which is special mention accounts. Then what is the probability of that person being in default? So same way, what is the probability that a taxpayer will not pay tax on time? So based on that, the income tax department can send some mails, some SMS. This is what we call as risk-based approach in dealing with taxpayers. So this was about taxation. Secondly, labor laws. Now under labor laws, the first important concept here is, which is very important for prelims as well, which is fixed term employment. Now there are many industries such as textiles, cotton, sugarcane, where labor is only employed for 9 months or 10 months, not the entire year. So it does not make sense for industry to hire labor permanently, although the labor laws prevent them from doing so. So fixed term here means that even if they are employed for 6 months, it will be treated as regular employees. That means the same ESIC, EPFO benefits will accrue to even temporary workers. So this was a big change. It was creating some degree of formalization in the labor force. Secondly, they reduced the ESIC contribution from 6.5% to 4%. So this increased the take-home pay. See again, reduction of ESIC will increase the take-home pay of the people earning below 15,000 rupees per month. See, ESIC covers the people which are earning below 15,000 rupees per month. Above that, we take the consideration of EPFO or Employee Provident Fund Organization. Thirdly, web-based and jurisdiction-free inspections of labor were carried out. Now, this is very important. These inspections reports have to be uploaded in 48 hours, as is mentioned in the next point, on the Shram Suvidha portal. I repeat, Shram Suvidha portal. This is the portal for comprehensive reports tracking maintenance of labor laws in India. Next step is compounding offenses. Compounding here means that you will not be convicted 3 or 4 times, but the quantum of punishment would be given in one go. That is what is meant by compounding of offenses. And lastly, to facilitate startups, there was self-certification in terms of 6 labor laws. So it will make it, again, as we discussed in the starting of the slide, it is to make life easy or ease of living and ease of doing business. So therefore, self-certification was introduced, especially for startups in 6 labor laws. And lastly, to make it more easier to do business for MSME, it was decided to give them single air and water clearance so that they don't have to go to multiple departments, and also a single consent to establish a factory so that it makes much more easy for them to start a business. Next, we come to what was announced by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. First is, again, to focus on ease of doing business. First was that it will take now 1 day, just 1 day to start a company or to incorporate a company. Second, the incorporated form will be integrated. That means multiple departments can be approached by just filling the one form, and that one form will do automatic coordination with other departments. That is what we mean by integrated incorporation form. Then shifting of 16 offenses to the monetary penalty. That means from the criminal offense, they have been shifted to civil offense with some form of penalty. So it makes it much easier under Companies Act. Next, faster and easier approvals for merger and acquisition. This will specially help in clearing the IBC or Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, because in Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code also we see there is proposal for M&As. Next was about differential voting rights, which is very important as a shareholder, as participation of Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange, stock markets, etc. Withdrawal of over 14,000 prosecutions just to make the law cleaner. So because we have seen that the government has been cleaning up the books, that means Cleaning of the books here means that getting rid of redundant laws. So this was a exercise carried out to make the Companies Act much more leaner and simpler to follow, so that you don't have to go to professionals, you can understand it on your own. And lastly, to strengthen the insolvency and bankruptcy code framework, especially in case of home buyers and MSME, because Supreme Court has given various verdicts in this regard, where home buyers will be treated as financial creditors. Again, home buyers to be treated as financial creditors. So coming to what were the problems at that time. First was CSR violations. Now the Companies had made CSR violations as a criminal offense. Now this was causing a lot of problems and anxiety amongst the large companies, and also it was not for sure that who to give the money to, what are the rules. There were a lot of clarity which was required. So under these announcements, first of all, this was not to be treated as a criminal offense. A lot of clarifications were given on CSR obligations. So if you're a listed company, you're supposed to give 2% of your profits or 5% of your profits, depending on your status. Second was issue of IT orders, notices, summons, letters through a centralized platform. So this was what we call as faceless appeals to avoid the harassment. So as we see from this slide, on or after 1st October 2019, all notices, summons, orders by income tax authorities shall be issued through a centralized computer system. So therefore your grievance would be time based. It will be akin to a citizen charter or taxpayer charter. So that is also very important. It establishes accountability on the part of the government. Third is relief for enhanced surcharge on long-term or short-term capital gains. So this was expected to boost investments in the stock market, because long-term capital gains tax and short-term capital gains tax are problematic for short-term investors and long-term investors both. So it was decided to withdraw the enhanced surcharge. So this will effectively boost the earnings from the stock market. So who will be affected? Insurance companies, mutual funds, which we call as domestic institutional investors, and also there was greater interest from FIIs or foreign institutional investors. The fourth point here is about withdrawal of angel tax provisions for startups, because the issue of angel tax in startups was a big issue. It was about how will the income tax charge the valuations of startups. So to mitigate genuine difficulties of startups, the Income Tax Act shall not be applicable to a startup for the first 3 years. So this gave a huge sigh of relief. And after this clarification, we have seen a lot of blockbuster deals happening in India regarding startups and raising money from startups, such as now recently we have this Jio and Facebook deal, which is not a startup as such, but it is expected to boost the startup ecosystem, especially in the digital economy. Now coming to the fifth point, which is additional credit expansion through PSBs. So it was decided to recapitalize the banks with 70,000 crores. Now this recapitalization will help infuse liquidity of 5 lakh crores. Sixth point here is banks to effect timely rate cuts. Now timely rate cuts, the word is very important for prelims, under which the word is transmission mechanism of monetary policy. What transmission mechanism is, when RBI cuts interest rates, the bank should also cut interest rates for its customers. Then banks should launch repo rate or external benchmarks. Now external benchmarks we discussed in our banking video as well. Now external benchmark is nothing but before the banks used to set their interest rates based on their cost of funds, or what we call as MCLR, marginal cost of their funds. But now they have to choose some external rates such as the repo rate or the 10-year benchmark yield, etc. for the customers. Lastly, the eighth point, which is ease of customer service, that the documents of the bank, for example, when you take a loan, you have given some documents to the bank for your loan or for your house loan or car loan, etc. So those will have to be returned by the bank within 15 days. So this is a very important step to not, this is again in the line of ease of living. Now coming to the ninth point, which is online tracking of loan applications. Now this is very important. Recently we had a system where banks and MSMEs, individual customers were put together in a single platform, which is PSB loans in 59 minutes, which enabled online tracking of loan applications. Nextly, one-time settlement policy was introduced to benefit MSME retail borrowers, so that there is no penalty in settling of their dues. So this will help in recovery of NPAs as well, because there is a one-time settlement policy and there is no need for appeal and unnecessary cases. You can just go to the bank, settle with the bank, and there will be a one-time settlement. So even you will have a clean record and banks will get their money. And lastly, protecting honest decision making. This is that CVC or the Vigilance Department will not question the decision of banks, and this will help them get over the crisis of policy paralysis. Now, coming to the 12th point, NBFCs and HFCs were in big trouble with the advent of ILFS crisis and DHFL crisis. So, therefore, they needed some liquidity support or hand holding. So, additional liquidity support of two housing finance companies was given by National Housing Bank, and also partial credit guarantee scheme would cover NBFCs. So, here banks lend 1 lakh crore to NBFCs. So, even if it fails, the government will, so that if NBFC is not able to pay back the loan, even then the government will guarantee some loans which have been extended to these NBFCs, so that the banks are not reluctant to give loans to these people. So therefore there will be no liquidity crisis in the financial system as a whole. Second, 13th point, use of bank KYC by NBFCs, where now previously you had to have multiple KYC verifications. But if a bank is hand-holding the NBFC, then it can advise that same KYC as well. So this will also fast-track the ease of living and ease of doing business to make it more easier to get credit in India. So as we can see, easier fast-track onboarding of customers. Lastly, we have co-origination of loans by PSBs jointly by NBFCs. Now NBFCs are famous for last mile delivery. Last mile delivery here means that they are very good in agriculture, tractor sales or insurance products. That means NBFCs have a good network at the grassroots. So maybe PSB has priority sector lending. So PSBs can tie up with NBFCs and give out loans jointly, because NBFCs don't have liquidity, PSBs have liquidity. PSBs don't have so much of reach, but NBFCs can reach self-help groups, etc. So therefore this will be a good combination to boost financial inclusion in India. Now coming to the point number 15, which is GST refund to MSMEs within 30 days. See, with GST and the problem of input tax credit, the main issue here was about liquidity or funds or working capital with MSMEs. So if you get refund within 30 days, this will give a big boost to functioning of MSMEs. Then MSME bill discounting using TREDS or Trade Receivables Electronic Discounting System. Now TREDS, it will be integrated with the GSTN, so that again it is about ease of doing business, where you can track the real-time billing software, payment software in one portal. Next, MSME definition was supposed to be changed. That is, MSME definition today is about plant and machinery, but we want to move it toward a turnover basis so that they are able to get more business, and this will also encourage them to grow bigger in the near future. Their MSMEs should not remain small. We should give them incentive to grow. So with this change in definition, we are giving them some incentive to grow their business. Lastly, UK Sinha committee recommendations were there on decision on which is delayed payments, technology, market credit for MSMEs. So this will also help in ease of doing business. Now coming to point number 19, which is deepening of bond markets in India. Now bond markets are very important because this is in line with engaging financial markets, increasing capital flows, and also broadening. See, deepening is the amount of money, broadening is the amount of participants. So in order to improve access to long-term finance, because infrastructure, see, suppose a road project has a gestation period. Gestation here means that it takes 7 years to make that road. A bank has a typical FD of 5 years. So it becomes difficult for banks to finance long-term projects. So therefore it is very important to deepen the bond market, where bonds are usually for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So what are the steps? First is that it will establish credit enhancement for infrastructure housing projects. Second, credit default swap market will be regulated by SEBI and RBI, and they'll come up with relevant guidelines to encourage this to happen, so that there is coverage of risk in case of default. And lastly, requirement of debenture redemption reserve, which is contingency reserve. For example, in banks we have heard of capital adequacy. Same way in capital markets, they have the companies, if they are not able to pay back the debenture, they have to keep some risk buffer. That is what we mean by debenture redemption reserve. So they have removed this because credit ratings are robust, and also this will help in greater fund flow and fund raising from the market. Next, access of Indian companies to global markets has to be encouraged. So this will give impetus for more ADRs, GDRs, and more foreign capital to be reaching India. So this is a good thing that Indian companies can borrow more money from abroad, but also we have to be very careful. This has to be hedged. That means the currency risk has to be hedged. So RBI is taking appropriate safeguards in this regard. The 21st point, use of Aadhaar-based KYCs for domestic retail investors. So as we discussed in the previous one, KYC of banks can be used by NBFCs. So similarly, KYC framework, which is Aadhaar-based, and so supposedly Aadhaar will be linked to your KYC, Aadhaar will be linked to your, as a KYC will be linked to your PAN card, for your DMAT account. So it will make it much easier, and also it will make money laundering, prevention of money laundering, black money, etc. very transparent. So income tax department and you will be very clear about the possibility of cheating, frauds, etc. So it will be much faster to detect fraud under this system. In order to do this, we need to really simplify the KYC, especially for foreign investors. So that is the 22nd point, simplified KYC and for especially FIIs and FPIs. Then lastly, offshore rupee market. A recent trend has been that the rupees have had a huge offshore market. That means the rupee which is traded not in India but in London markets and Singapore, etc. We have all heard of the masala bonds where Indian government or government agencies, PSUs, etc. raise money in rupees from the foreign market. So here offshore rupee market has to be developed, and more of it has to come to India because we are losing the commissions. We are paying more commissions to LSE or that is London Stock Exchange, or SGX is Singapore Stock Exchange. So we are planning to bring it all to the GIFT City in Gujarat. Now, addressing infrastructure, the major concern in infrastructure was delayed payments. So government will try to clear all delayed payments within 60 days of this announcement. And also there was a lot of litigation. For example, there is a dispute between NHAI and the road developer. So a decision was made to pay 75% of the arbitration award to tide over the liquidity crisis in infrastructure, NBFC, etc. Lastly, an interministerial task force was formed to spend 100 lakh crore for developing modern infrastructure. This we know today is called as the National Infrastructure Pipeline, about which we'll be discussing in the next slide or the next part. Coming to the confusion regarding rollout of BS6 and BS4, there was a lot of confusion that will BS6 mean that BS4 vehicles will not be allowed on the road. So this was causing anxiety and drop in sales of the automobiles. So clarification was given in this regard that even if you buy a BS4 vehicle, it will still remain operational. You can register it even after 1st April. So the registration will not be allowed, but it will be allowed to run on the road. Second, revision for one-time registration fee has been deferred till June 2020. That is about automating or registration of cars or bikes or something, right? Then 29 point, higher depreciation for all vehicles. Now this will help in commercial sector because the depreciation is treated like a cost to the company. So 15% depreciation would mean that the company can book this as a cost in their books or in accounts. So that will increase their profitability. So it will also boost consumption. That is to promote the sale because you can show higher cost for buying that car in the form of depreciation. Then both electric vehicles and internal combustion engine vehicles will continue to get registered after 1st April. And lastly, the government has lifted ban on purchase of vehicles or replacing old vehicles by departments and PSUs. And also various measures would be taken to introduce scrappage policy at the earliest. So these 5 were given for boosting the demand in the automotive sector. Now coming to the last point, which is Ministry of Finance to continue to engage with various stakeholders, talk to industry, talk to banks, talk to MSMEs, etc. in order to boost the economy. Please comment, like and follow our series for more such videos. Thank you.